Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation today. I want to play clip 5 because, our last caller said, look, why do you call Barack Obama the enemy? Well, because I believe he is the enemy of economic prosperity. He is the enemy of moral standards in America. He is far friendlier to Islam than he is to Christianity. And by the way, in Arizona, they had their first Muslim prayer in the chambers there. So they engaged in idolatry. The entire Arizona Senate engaged in an act of idolatry by appealing to a false counterfeit God who goes by the name of Allah. So Barack Obama wants to maintain funding for Planned Parenthood. He doesn't want do anything to reduce access to abortion. He wants to legitimize homosexuality everywhere, pushed it through in the military, wants to legitimize same-sex marriage, wants to give same-sex benefits in federal employment to those that are involved in an act we call the infamous crime against nature. So every reason you can think he is an enemy of the values that we care about, the values that made this country great. Now, here's a couple of former Democrat pollsters, Pat Caddell, Doug Schoen. These guys were big-time operators in the Bill Clinton administration, and they're talking about President Obama and his conduct on the Benghazi thing and other issues, and basically they say they're agreeing with me that what Barack Obama is doing is he is dividing and disuniting this country. Let's listen.
The man who was going to unite America about there's no red America, blue America. This man, as Doug and I have written last year early on, is the most divisive president in our lifetime.
And there is
he is tearing the country apart.
He speaks of bipartisanship,
he doesn't want
but he offers no policies that offer any hope of achieving bipartisanship. And bottom line, he is doing nothing more than trying to eliminate the Republican Party.
So that's what he's saying, and I think these guys are exactly right. This guy was going to unite America. That was all a myth. It was all bloviation. He was the guy that was talking about no red America, no blue America. There's just one America. But Pat Caddell says, look, he is the most divisive president in our lifetime. He is tearing the country apart. And they are saying this as card-carrying blue blood Democrats. Doug Schoen, he speaks of bipartisanship but offers no policies that offer any hope of achieving bipartisanship. And the reality is, Rush Limbaugh has been on this, and I think he's exactly right, that what President Obama does is he always wants to be in the position where he's campaigning against the evil, heartless people who are keeping him from creating a utopia. Doesn't actually want to offer any ideas, any plans. In fact, if he does anything that has a bipartisan feel to it, it's bad for him, because then his name becomes attached to something that could fail and therefore could bring some kind of censure or blame on him. But if he never gets anything passed, never has anything with his name on it, then there's nothing that happens, and he can say, well, look, it's all the Republicans' fault. They're mean, they're spiteful, they're rigid, they won't come to the table, they won't compromise, it's all their fault. So he never wants to actually do anything. He just wants to be in a position where he can hammer the opposition and criticize them. Now, our last caller was talking about Chuck Hagel, who is President Obama's nominee, and this will be clip number 7, who is President Obama's nominee to be the CIA director. And this is a guy that we mentioned this is the Secretary of Defense. Hagel, I'm sorry, I get them mixed up sometimes. Hagel is the Secretary of Defense guy. Now, this is a guy that Iran loves and Israel dislikes. That's all you need to know about whether Chuck Hagel is a good nominee or a bad nominee, and he was absolutely inept in his hearing. And so here's Bob Woodward, same program, talking with Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. He's the guy that said to Chris Wallace, look, the sequester was Obama's idea. And here he is talking about Hagel, and Hagel is his nomination in such jeopardy, he says, that listen to what the Democrats are doing. Let's listen.
I think there's another dimension here, and that what are Democratic senators really thinking about the Hagel nomination? I understand some of them have actually called the White House and said, is Hagel going to withdraw? Would he consider withdrawing? The answer is an emphatic no, but remember John Ehrlichman Nixon's aide used to talk about twisting slowly in the wind. And the factor here is time. And there is this twisting in the wind aura to all of this. And I wonder whether the Democrats are kind of looking and asking what really is the fundamental question here. Is he the best person to be Secretary of Defense?
So the Democrats got problems with Hagel's nomination. They're wondering whether he's the right guy for the job. The Republicans filibustered the first effort to confirm Hagel's nomination on Thursday or Friday, I forget which. So it looks like it's dead in the water. The Republicans have filibustered him. He didn't get to first base. The Democrats are calling the White House. Is he going to withdraw? Democrats are saying, Bob Woodward saying the Democrats are wondering whether he's the right guy for the job. And then John McCain, bless his heart, comes along and throws the whole possibility of blocking this guy who is an enemy of Israel. That's why President Obama picked him. He is an enemy of Israel, and he is a friend of Iran. He wants to sit down and negotiate with Iran. He won't call Hamas and Hezbollah terrorist organizations, even though our government has for over a decade. So here's John McCain just kind of giving up, running the white flag right up the pole. Let's listen.
The fact is that Chuck Hagel made statements and took votes in the United States Senate, particularly vis-a-vis Iran. His comments about Israel were atrocious, but he will be confirmed.
He will be confirmed. So John McCain, look, his statements about Israel are atrocious. He's the wrong guy for the job, but hey, let's go ahead and confirm him anyway. So much for voting on principle and voting for conscience. Now, here is Chris Matthews, clip number 8. Number to call, by the way, if you want to join the conversation, 888-589-8840. Here is Chris Matthews. And we've got a deal where the Republicans are playing by the rules, like this blocking Hagel on Friday. Those are the rules that were set up in the Senate. So they're just playing by the rules. I mean, they are playing by Democratic rules. And the Constitution says that spending bills have to start in the House. So if the Republicans do that, there's nothing wrong with that. They're playing by the rules. That's how the democracy, the democratic form of government, really a Republican form of government, that's how it is designed to operate. So they're operating according to the rules that have been established by the Founding Fathers and confirmed by the American people. But the Democrats, when they don't get what they want, when the liberals don't get what they want, then they turn around and accuse the Republicans of violating procedure and democratic principle. Here is Chris Matthews, and he is on with David Gregory, Meet the Press. So they've taken him out of his little cubby where he routinely slams conservatives, put him in their most prominent news show on Sunday morning, and here's what he had to say.
I find it stunning, truly, that this president and the Democratic Party continues to lay all the blame for their failure to achieve anything at the feet of the Tea Party or Ted Cruz or whoever the latest villain is. The truth is, this man is the president of the United States. He could get immigration reform, as one example, tomorrow if he would step forward and say, I applaud and salute the Gang of Eight's proposal. Let's go forward and vote on that.
He essentially did that in the State of the Union. Let me make
That's not true, by the way. Under our Constitution, you can use now 60 votes to stop. You can require 60 votes to the Senate, which is basically forcing the majority to give up its majority.
Let me get out of here because
it's really become an undemocratic system with the way that Boehner's had to play this because of his right wing.
It's all the Republicans' fault, in your view, clearly.
So, and Chris Matthews says it is. It is all the Republicans' fault. You nailed it. And what he's complaining about is this filibuster procedure, and I don't like the filibuster. I actually agree with Chris Matthews that the filibuster is a bad idea as it currently exists. You know, I believe what you ought to have is unlimited debate. That debate should not be cut off until every senator has been heard, every senator has been able to make his argument. Then at some point, after everybody has spoken, everybody's participated in the debate, then you go to a vote. I agree with that. I believe in that. So I am actually for filibuster reform. But Chris Matthews is only for filibuster reform when it gets in the way of democratic objectives. Then he hates it. He thinks it's undemocratic. When it's used to block George Bush's judicial nominees, then Chris Matthews is all for it. He thinks it's wonderful. Senate, greatest deliberative body in the world. Isn't it great we have the filibuster to keep these yahoos from getting through the system? Well, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Gene, Monticello, Louisiana. Gene, you're on Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Ryan, I think you do an excellent job on the radio there.
Thank you.
And strong Christian background. I like it. Just like to know who holds all these people accountable for everything, like Hillary and the Benghazi, and all these senators and these congressmen that are going up against, congressional hearings and just, sidestepping everything. And also President Obama just kind of saying one thing, doing another. Do we wait till another 4 years goes by and then reelect them? Do we, don't even remember what they did, in the very early years of their term, or what? I'd like to know.
All right, Gene. Well, that's a very good question. I'll try to give you as direct an answer as I can. The reality is we are stuck with Barack Obama for 4 more years as president. We're stuck with him. There's nothing practically that can be done about it. I believe he's committed impeachable offenses. A lot of other people would agree with me. But the reality is he's not going to be impeached. And if he were impeached, he wouldn't be convicted. So pragmatically, that option just does not exist. I mean, something really bizarre would have to happen before that eventuality could be brought to bear. So you could possibly have articles of impeachment filed by the House of Representatives, but the trial for his impeachment would be conducted by the Senate, and he would not be removed from office unless 2/3 of the Senate agreed that he had committed an impeachable offense. Then the Senate would remove him from office. But the Democrats control the Senate. It's 55-45 right now. There's no way in the world you'll get a single Democrat, no matter how bad President Obama conducts himself, you won't get a single Democrat to vote for impeachment. So the reality is he's not going to be impeached. But here is the deal. And here's the deal. This is the card. This is the whole card. This is the card that we have up our sleeves, is the Republicans control the House of Representatives. That means that the Republicans are in a position to stop every bad piece of legislation that comes down the pike. They can stop it. Now, they can't stop Obama from these executive orders and from exceeding his authority. And I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, there's virtually nothing that we're going to be able to do about that unless the American people rise up with such force that he's just compelled by pure public pressure to stop. But we do have the House. We can stop every bad thing that comes down the pike. Focal Point, AFR Talk.